Action! Hello and welcome to another episode of Tori Gladiators, the show where we discuss debate literature in all of its forms.
All of its forms!
If it's written word, gets game.
Game!
Let's meet the panel.
Racquetball.
Larry.
Charlie.
I'm the only sane one here, Tori.
No, I'm not.
And you're usually not. I'm Josh. But today, actually,
Wait, did you just assume I'm
I've
strange?
I've actually, something that I've
Just
always
assume my
wanted
strangeness.
to have you do on the show.
Who?
You.
Me?
You have a background in sign language, and you got your within your associate's degree, you got a certification
This is a true statement.
pertaining to American Sign Language.
Okay.
How do you say I want a cookie?
Was there anything that you ever did you want to demonstrate or sign anything?
Oh, geez, I wouldn't even know what to do with that.
I want a cookie. So wait, hold on.
Cookie.
That's cookie.
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 Because you're like cutting the cookie up.
I like cookie.
I thought it was an
Me.
Oreo.
Want.
Well, this is one.
Want.
I'm not going to do this to someone at work because
Oh,
I don't want to get in
How
trouble.
about this? Just do that in the presence of a deaf person. They'll know that you want something, and they'll be like, yes,
But-
and...
yeah, that means
You want what?
you'll
You
want a
want
cookie, which
Cookie. Cookie.
yeah,
They'll be like,
Me.
that's nice, and then
Want.
like walk away.
So want is this. Want.
Want.
you can tell them that you have a fetish for cookie people.
No, it's
cookie women.
I want a cookie.
Okay.
Cookie. Alright, cookie.
That's the cookie.
So I can do that at work and be...
Alrighty then.
Please don't.
It's like an Oreo.
Please.
I want
Yeah,
a cookie.
similar, yeah. Cookie you want.
That sounds like
ow,
a
my
monster.
Similar.
You want cookie?
Stop mocking me.
So
Yeah, that's a whole other
How come
that's
the
a whole other
grammar?
episode.
How come the grammar is like different?
It's based off of French. American Sign Language is
how
actually
about
based
that?
off of French Sign Language, which is based off of the French language.
You ever say like the way with the hand gestures of the French people?
No, it's
They have good fries.
sign language. There's a whole history behind
Granted,
that
we do
stuff.
have a lot of French influence. I think Thomas Jefferson was very heavily inspired by French culture, cuisine.
Yeah, American Sign
Custom.
Language is its own separate entity. It's its own separate language. So
Mm-hmm.
It's also good to learn it.
Alrighty then, let's get to the discussion. We are going to be going over.
stop talking about cookies, dude.
We're going to be discussing The
It's the
Walk
truth.
by Robert Walser,
Oh.
which it's going to make for an interesting discussion. So I thought I would
What do you
just
say
begin.
about cookies?
Yeah, we can start talking about cookies again.
I thought I'd begin with the discussion starter for
That's a good place to
The
begin.
Walk, and that is. Do you feel that Walser is writing for himself in this short novel, which is arguably a short story? And if so, what are his strategies in incorporating various other details?
He reports everything in great detail.
Oh.
Oh my goodness! I actually skipped over some parts. I'm like, all right, I get it.
I think he is the main audience member is himself, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No,
But
not
on
at all.
the other hand, I was not
On
along
and
for the
on and
ride.
on. I'm sorry.
the rest of it.
This is gonna be something. One of the few works, unlike Arlene Sardine, that I strongly did not like.
I will have to agree with you. I really
let's-
wanted to like.
Let's
this.
elaborate.
Of course,
Why did you strongly dislike it?
too much. There was too much description. Now, that's great for a police report, okay? But for something like this,
Let's
I mean,
specify. It wouldn't even be good for a police report because this is so flowy and over the top. And
yeah,
it's,
it very,
eloquence.
yeah. And I mean, now this is also a time where most, men had a higher standard,
And they were paid by the word.
This is true, and you could tell. You could tell.
Morty's rich, but just there was this very respectable decorum, especially in that time period. But also just it's like he was putting on airs, for lack of a better terminology. But just putting on so much airs, and he would like something like the suit. He liked the suit, but he verbally assaulted the retailer.
The verbal assault on the tailor.
The bookshop owner. Was
and the bookshop.
That was great.
But I think
that's when I realized I wasn't going to like it. It's like it takes him 3 pages to ask the guy, what's a popular book that the critics like? And it takes him 3 pages to ask that question.
Oh, God.
What's a popular book that the critics like?
I think I think the bookshop owner though was trying to get at what exactly he was asking.
But it was a one-way conversation. It wasn't asking questions.
But
he was just like, could you tell me about the book that is not the greatest book, but not the worst book, and the book is up here, and the book
one
is
that
down
the
there.
most people ask for.
Now
The
you're
most
sounding
requested
like
book,
the
the book
Swedish
that is
chef.
requested the most.
That's how it sounded. It was all...
I got the greatest book in Erdy Birdie Bird. What was I gonna... but...
Yeah, what were you going to say, Josh?
But... What happened
skillet.
was the bookshop owner couldn't give him a reasonable enough explanation as to why
The
this
bookshop
was
owner
the
didn't
greatest
say
book.
anything to him.
No, he
The
called.
bookshop owner
It was all him asking
he
for the
was
book.
selling. The bookshop owner was just selling.
The bookshop owner said yes. That was the only word he
He
said.
said, this is the book that the most people in my bookshop when they come in here ask for.
And
This is the most requested book.
Well, I
and
think
he's
also-
like, is this
was
the
it-
most requested book? And he's like, yes. And he's like,
But then he asked him.
Good
kind
day.
of like almost like a comedy.
But
Is
then
this
he
the best
asked him
cookie? It is the best cookie.
when he asked, is the book definitely good? He says, an utterly superfluous and completely inadmissible question.
Read the book, buddy. That's all I would say.
So he can't. It's a question that the bookshop owner himself cannot answer, and because he's promoting it as the popular book that
I
everybody's
took it
reading.
as, why are you asking me that question? I'm telling you it's good. Of course it's good. That's kind of how I read it. That's what the book...
Yeah, especially
owner-
given his reaction when he walks out.
Exactly.
He's like angry.
Oh, he
But
called him
then-
an uncultivated, ignorant man.
Exactly.
But I think he was just... Walser was just proving his point. I think he was busting chops with the bookshop owner because he's a nonconformist. The fact that a book is definitely good and it's popular among critics is what the crowd is.
It doesn't necessarily mean
Yeah.
that
Going
it's
for.
actually good. So
But you were able to say that in
Excuse
me.
so many less words. You know what I mean?
Would you recommend this book to a friend? I work at a library, folks. Okay. Now, I gave up the subbing. I'm done with that. I work at a library. There are times people come up to me and badger me with questions, and I don't mean badger in a bad way. I don't take.
ask lots of questions.
Yeah, and I will give them the best answers I can because even if it's a book I don't know, I'll do some research on it. I'll say, I personally would not read this book, but you might like it. This boy falls in love with this tree, and they have apples together. Just as a very first thing that came to my mind. I think this is something you may or may not enjoy, and let me know.
But as far as...
like I get the feeling that
I don't like
that
apples.
he's trying to be funny.
No, I'm not.
Oh, no,
But
it
it's
was
just-
absolutely supposed to be droll. It was supposed to be a ridiculous exchange where he kind of, the laugh is on him for being the ridiculous, like, good day, sir. And that's how I kind of read
Oh, thank
it,
you.
was that he got the answers that he was supposed to, but because he was so artistically spirited,
It's
it was
so
not
long.
meant for him.
Robert
He-
Walser is... I think you have to... In order to understand it completely, I think you have to have an understanding of Robert Walser's background.
Everything is written with a wink and a nod. It's kind of
Robert Walser was an absurdist writer,
Yes.
so he's very similar to Franz Kafka.
Yeah, except Kafka doesn't take 50 words to ask for a book.
He doesn't make I don't know how he was in real life, because he was a pretty interesting
I'm
fellow
just so hung up on
to
this
begin with.
book
But
question.
Robert Walser, I think his writing is genius.
You know what?
I think
I
that-
will mutually agree on that. Yes.
I read Jacob von Gutten, and while one may approach it and think, what the hell is this?
And one will.
I would...
You said a place.
I approached it and thought, this is friggin' brilliant the way that it really strips things down and makes you really
Excuse me?
have
Oh, right.
an enlightening moment. of
Strips
thought.
things down.
I got
By piling on.
It seems so simple. The Jacob von Goethen seems so simple in its nature, and
now what was that written? Was that in this Berlin period or whatever?
I'd have to look that one up.
Is it before or after this?
I think this was first.
Okay.
Because this, to me, and I think from what others have said, this lays out the groundwork to a lot of other things he's written.
From what it says,
He writes random essays about random subjects.
Ooh.
So he's kind of like, I think Charlie can be like Robert Walser if he gets into writing and submitting his essays to New York Times or something.
Yeah,
the question is whether.
Hey, who the heck
that's
wrote about
accepted.
cookies? This kid wrote a 55-page essay about cookies. Get this kid some
I
drugs.
read some other stuff from The book The Walk, aside from the short story The Walk.
I have a question. When you're done, of course. Sorry.
Some of the stuff he goes off on is absolutely hysterical. He has a whole short essay on women in pants. And I think that was the aha moment where I realized this man is so ridiculous. Okay, I can move forward now from that. I'm just going to say that. It's
So I'm ridiculous?
He was placed in I think he developed schizophrenia, and he was placed in an institution, and he wrote in microscripts, and those were published. But then he decided he became too insane to write.
The character in this book comes across as like manic depressive or something.
I think that,
especially at the end when he has that complete kind of where he goes from picking flowers
to laying there,
mourning the loss of his loved
the
one.
girl he never had or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, he has to lie down because he says he's so tired all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And he just lies there and thinks about depressing things.
I think that this walk on the back of the book that we got, this copy here, it mentions the walk as being philosophical, but
Yeah, definitely that.
page 60 was in this book the most meaningful page in how he's talking to somebody. He's talking to the superintendent or inspector of taxes.
Oh, yeah.
And tells him why he walks. And when I listed his first major reasons, it reflects on... This is completely where it hits home that he's writing for himself, because in this piece, he's a writer. He is walking away from his typewriter, or he's walking away from writing for the time being to take a walk. And
he kind of mentions a little guilt about when he's passing by the workmen, right? About how, here he is out for a walk when these
during
people
working
are
hours.
these people are busting their butts.
But he said on the same token that's his working hours, because how is he supposed to write about stuff
Yeah,
if
I'm
there's
just-
nothing to observe?
I think that's where Josh is going.
Yeah, the best writers are not only the best readers,
They're the best
but
observers.
they're best observers.
Yeah.
They also...
Because now he's trying to legitimize himself in front of the tax man.
And
Yeah.
he's writing in order. He walks in order to not just exercise physically, but also experience his world around him. He has to gather his thoughts, and I think observing seeks inspiration, and there's plenty of inspiration from not just his personal experiences, but the experiences of other people that he.
I don't think there's quite as
looking
much
upon.
as he thinks there is.
But yeah, you never know. I think you just need to sit in a Walmart long enough.
No, but I just mean
I actually
every speck of dirt on the ground is not something to write.
I think he's a very emotionally
He's not the only
impulsive
one that talks
individual.
about the speck of dirt on the ground.
I'm not saying he is.
He's a very emotionally impulsive individual. I will agree with you there. With maybe not manic depressive, but whatever new
It's verbose.
whim takes him in whatever direction he thinks.
the
'cause-
awkward moment when you hit the 500 word count.
But
I just made a meme.
congrats. But good job.
Do I get a cookie?
When we're done with this, yes, we can.
NaNoWriMo's
give you a
6 months away from when this is going to be up.
What about that advertisement?
Cookie?
But
You know the advertisement for the
Which one?
restaurant?
But yeah, it's very much a very self-indulgent piece of work, but not without merit.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, you can't. Yeah.
that one I can
It was
attest to.
entertaining when it was done palatable.
Yeah. I mean, the way he was complimenting the girl who was singing.
Dude, if some dude walked up to me and I was minding my own P's and Q's and started going off like that, I'd be like, okay, sir, I've got my oven is on. I gotta go get that and like get in a car and drive away. That was just a lot. Don't comment on my supple body and youthful whatever. And
I think it really.
I just said
I
that.
think that really makes for an argument about what kind of mental condition he may
I was
have.
going to say, it's almost like...
Because I'm sure he did have a mental condition of some sort.
Like I said, emotionally
schizophrenia.
impulsive.
Put
Yeah.
him in the institution.
So.
I don't know.
And he actually, coincidentally enough, he died while taking a walk on Christmas Day. Christmas morning.
That's
It's interesting because he talks about wanting to be buried in the woods at one point. He talks about the trees and them whispering to him and how like often a little clearing would make like a perfect grave for him. And
That was probably my
They found him
favorite part.
that was such a beautiful like melancholy bittersweet piece. But I think it was the best portion of it, which is sad because him contemplating death and the peace he finds in death, and that was the most beautifully perfect piece out of everything without it going off the handrails in a like extremely like exaggerated way.
Well, in a way, I see it.
It was that part and the part in the middle when he was in the woods. I thought that was really well.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm talking about when he
Oh, that was
still
the
walks
same
through
part.
the woods. Yeah, that's the same part where
Okay.
he's saying like the trees are whispering to him, and he's like, "This would be a fine place to die."
The hills
and
have eyes.
The trees would whisper to me in my death, and contemplating death in a peaceful state like that.
Something about a thunderstorm.
The rest of it's
On his
like-
Christmas walk, he was face flat in the snow, and they took a picture.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Oh, well, even back then we were taking pictures.
Wham, okay.
Right back to reality.
But yeah, no, I think I agree with you. Like, that's the best part to me. That was the best portion of it written.
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was so overly superfluous there. And he uses the word superfluous again and again and again. It's like, man, talk about superfluous.
And he uses, like, delicious a lot. That was a word that, for some reason, he used it so much throughout the entire book that I was like, I'm noticing how many times he said something is delicious or decadent or...
You would also have to take into account
He also mentions about how
the impact of those
artists have to
words
be
in the
expected
German
to
language.
be repetitive.
Yeah,
because it was written in German.
He also talks about being repetitive. And how...
He talks about being repetitive?
Yeah. He's like,
I think
I'm repetitive, I'm a
People
writer,
will say what
I'm
they
allowed to
want,
be
but when
repetitive.
there's money involved. But granted, I think he's writing more for himself than for money.
It was a whole...
Final thoughts, everyone?
I think we've said it. I think we've said enough.
No,
Okay,
I want to be
sorry.
fair. Hold on, let's start one more time, I'm sorry.
Final thoughts, everyone?
Cookie.
Look, I've been hard on this guy. I don't like him. But I did, here's what I thought, the positive side, right? I liked, the beginning, right? When he's heading out in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about how, like, the world seems new and fresh. And then when night falls is when, he's looking back at his life and regretting the things that he didn't do. And I think that's, I relate to that, right? Like, it seems like every day is full of opportunity. And, but at nighttime, when you kind of feel alone and you can look back and worry about things. Or, you know what I'm trying to say?
I think
There's not
so.
enough to distract you during the daytime. There's all those different things that draw upon his attention, but at night it's just him. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. And I feel that way myself, you know? I mean, like, I love the beginning of the day. Like, when I get up in the morning and the sun's coming up, I'm just like, man, what's going to happen, you know? It's
Yeah,
like...
there's a bunch of potentials.
Yeah.
What can I do today? What will I do today?
I would say that this
Yeah.
work was a bit... I would think it was one of his tougher works to get into because there's so much that's going on.
Yeah.
But I still have in my mind that this does reflect Robert Walser and
I was going to...
what he has to contribute to literature.
The reason I was doing this earlier is, and I hope I didn't show anyone anything, I'm honest, but I was thinking, does anyone think that's satire? This whole thing is satire. The writers.
Well, like I said, like it's tongue
Like a
in cheek.
farce
Yeah.
or something.
No, I'm not.
No, I said like a farce
Oh, I'm
or
sorry.
something.
He's agreeing with you.
It was like a comedy that's not funny.
You're right.
It was
Depends
a
on what
commentary.
your humor
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, it was definitely a commentary. I will agree with you there.
A
Yeah,
very
there was
lengthy, wordy commentary.
But I think it was less a commentary on writers and more a commentary on him as a writer. It was, like I said, it was holding himself up to a glass and putting himself on a piece of paper to see how much he measures up.
Already.
You ever read Confederacy of Dunces?
I've heard of it. John Kennedy O'Toole.
Yeah. Reminds me of that kind of. Except that one's funny.
It looks a bit more ridiculous.
It is.
But visually more ridiculous, because I think it's more familiar to people, and I think that it attracts to a larger audience.
Yeah. But that's the thing. This seems like it's written for like snooty people.
I could see that being the point, but then again, I think that's the culture too. I think that the Swiss and the German population is a bit more.
And the time that it was
snooty.
written.
And during that time, it's a bit. They have a bit more of a drier taste compared to where we're very flashy.
Well, I don't know. It's like we're more, I think, into like grit and realism. I mean, I don't know if it's about flash, like, because I mean, you could describe that as flashy. It's like how many $5 words do you know? Put them all.
In a way, it all depends on how you perceive Walser and his writing.
What about? Did you read the introduction?
I did not. I usually don't read introductions because I like to develop my own impression.
In the introduction, the guy says, "Okay, what happened was the walk was written, all right, as a book. Then the Walser released a different version afterwards. Now the guy that first translated Walser in English translated the first version of the walk, not knowing that he had written another one a couple of years later.
Oh,
wow.
So then this guy that did this version got in contact with that guy and said, "Hey, he wrote a different version of this. I want to write the version that he wrote and make the same changes, except do it to your version. Is that okay?" And the guy said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead and do that." So he did that. And then he starts talking about how, this really shows his growth as a writer because he scratched out words here and put different words. Like, I mean, it just seems like such a useless exercise. To me, I mean, if you wanted to read them both side by side, like is what he said, you could do to appreciate it. But then he writes a 15-page introduction about how.
So the walk turns into a jog, a mental jog.
A mental.
Oh my goodness! It's like, okay, these are the kind of people that this book is for. I'm not this kind of person. I don't care.
I think there's
And
a great sense of carpe diem.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Already. How would we rate this on 0 to 5 scale, half stars permitted, Larry?
2.5.
I'll give it a 3.
I'd probably give it a 2.5 as well. I mean, there's some merit there. There were some portions of it that were very, very entertaining to read, but it just didn't do it for me. I'm not the type of person who likes the purple prose when it comes to this and characters that go on for 3 paragraphs trying to give a simple compliment.
Writing this was harder than you would think.
Yeah, it was tough.
It's interesting to note that this story came out in 1917, which I believe is also the year that The Sun Also Rises came out, which pretty much obliterated that kind of overflowery storytelling.
Oh, that is interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hemingway has been known for great sketchy details. What people have made remarks about that.
Yeah, just short sentences.
But
Yeah,
I'd give this a 4 because it was very enlightening in its nature. And I would definitely it's something I would definitely be keen to examine. But if you're interested in checking it out, here is a copy. You can also find it in a short story collection because it really is. I would say it's in the class of the Metamorphosis in its size. But thank you for tuning in, and be sure to join us next time for another episode of Literary Gladiators. For now, keep reading.
And have fun with it.
Greatest book in Birdie Bird.